So hello and welcome back. And it's not often that I get to introduce a world champion, but that's exactly what Justin Fields is, a world champion speed sculptor, amongst many other things. As it says here, is creative director, concept artist, and also creature designer. Yes. So we're very excited to have Justin show us some amazing things in ZBrush. Quickly, because that is kind of what you're known for, isn't it?
Yes, absolutely. I do a lot of work in concept design and visual development for film, TV, and games, and ZBrush is a major part of that.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
So I'm going to leave it over to you, and just if you want to mention some of those exciting things you've been working on recently as well,
sure,
please feel free to do that as well.
No problem. We'll do.
Okay. Over to you.
All right. Thanks, guys. How's everybody doing today? Good, I hope. All right, so today, I think we're going to keep it simple, and we're just going to do like a little bit of a speed sculpt here. And then the next time that I'm back at this booth, we'll be showing a little bit of the work that we at Sanctum did on Prey. We were able to do a lot of work for the Predator. Thank you. So usually I just kind of start off with a Dynamesh sphere here. And I'm just going to instantly kind of go into the move tool here. And what I like most about ZBrush is that its ability to quickly create forms and just kind of get into the creative flow. We're going to turn off perspective here. We don't need to see the floor. And for those of you guys that are online, go ahead and if you ask any questions, they'll come up here and tell me what you guys want to know. And I'll just kind of keep the flow going here. I don't always start from a sphere, but I usually have like a lot of default stuff that I've sat down and kind of pre-made shapes. If I know a creature or an object is going to be a specific thing, you don't have to reinvent the wheel. Oh, let's turn off sticky keys there. Let's make sure that Dynamesh is working. There we go. Oh, we're having a little bit of an issue here with the sticky keys. So I'm just going to push and pull these shapes around, see what I can come up with here. And just kind of start blocking out some of the musculature here. I'm going to switch over here to my clay build-up brush. Just kind of start laying down some lines and see what pops out at me. Shaking the table here a little bit. I don't know if this table was built for this, but we'll find out. A lot of ZBrush is, building up shapes, smoothing them out, building up shapes, smoothing them out. Just laying down the proverbial clay, if I'm even using that right, but yeah. And let's just see here. Gonna build out this mouth shape here. Kind of knock everything back just a little bit. I don't want to get too focused on Let's turn that off real quick. And we'll just kind of do a little bit of a bust. And we're just going to slice off the stuff we don't want right now. We'll probably go back to that. That's okay. The creative freedoms that ZBrush allows us to have is just kind of insane, in my opinion. I was very lucky enough to kind of learn ZBrush as my first like 3D software package. So trying to go back into another software that does primarily just 3D, it's really, it doesn't feel like clay to me. So I'm just becoming a big fan of feeling like I'm playing with digital clay, just to kind of start all my concepts out from. It's got a bit of a long neck here. Let's go ahead and grab this move tool here. Just trying to find those forms. We only have about an hour. I'm going to try and get a finished piece here done in that time. Normally I take a lot more time to kind of build out my shapes and find that exact creature brief that we're following and all of that. And I'm always using reference. But generally on the showroom floor, we don't have time to kind of show our reference. So I'm just kind of building it off of things that I've imagined in my head. Let's bring back this neck muscle here. I've done a lot of creature designs for Star Trek Discovery. That was a lot of fun. Working with Alchemy Studios and coming up with unique alien species that the fans haven't seen before, which is always fun. Doing some new stuff, seeing some old stuff, or new takes on old stuff. We're going to go ahead and go back here and play with the shape a little bit more. Just trying to see what we can come up with here. Don't want to make them mean looking just yet. We got to figure out what we're doing. Let's try and figure out what we're going to do here with this chin. You know what? I think I like that a lot. Let's go ahead and grab this real quick. Right? All right. Dynamesh just automatically fixes all those problems for me. Just smooth this back out here. Smooth all that out and start seeing what we got here. Starting to get a vibe for this guy. Happy little alien. All right. So about here, I'll start blocking out a little bit more of the proportions. And we're going to go ahead and imagine that this is based off of the fact that there's going to be a prosthetic. So we're going to just imagine that this is a Star Trek creature and that there's going to be a guy underneath there. So we need to make sure it at least fits a human head underneath here, just to make sure. Normally what I do is I'll have a scan of an actor underneath what I'm sculpting, so that if I carve too much, it shows me where I can achieve that and where I can't go in any further. And we want to make sure that his head can be balanced properly. Let's go ahead and give some meat back here. For the most part, I try not to get too caught up in the back view if I'm just doing a speed sculpt or a concept that's just going to, I need an approval before I move forward, before I spend any more time figuring it out. So usually we just do front or busts to kind of get the game started. Just starting to kind of block out a shape here. All right, for those of you guys that are watching at home, feel free to type in the YouTube chat and whatever you'd like to add or ask. I'd be happy to answer any of your questions.
question from the chat.
What are you making? I have no idea. No, I'm just some sort of alien creature here, and we'll let the chat name him.
All right.
Yeah. All right, we are short for time here, so I'm going to make sure that I can get something in here. Make sure we show signs of intelligence with the creature, so we want to make sure that it can emote. It's the difference between an animal and a creature. Creatures are just feral. Can't really show emotion. So we like to do this little trick here, which I learned from watching how they made Labyrinth and Muppets and all that kind of stuff. So what we're going to do is we're going to go append a sphere. Right, we're going to level that there, shrink it about the eyeball size we want. Drag and drop that in there. About that size. And then we're going to go in here. We're going to mirror and weld it. Right, we're going to turn on symmetry. We're going to go back into our subtool panel here, and we're going to duplicate it. And I'm going to make it a little bit bigger. Just a little bit bigger. There we go. Alright, duplicate it again. And now we got some emotion in our character here. And I'm just going to move some of the stuff around here and smooth it out. And now we have at least some geometry there so we can play with our eyelids as a separate object before we commit. But also, if I keep these things separate, if a director or a client asks me to do some facial tests or do some different kinds of emotions, I haven't committed to one sculpt, and I keep it loose so that I can create all kinds of different emotions. And then we're going to go back to our eyes, because eyes are not perfect spheres. We're just going to pull that into the corners here. There we go. And now we're going to head back to our main sculpt here. Now we get into like one of the tool that everybody loves, the damn standard. I love to sit here and carve into my shapes. I think he's looking too smart for my opinion here. Let's go ahead and grab. Let's go back to our little clay build-up brush here. I'm going to build up this lower jaw just a little bit. See if that takes on a different persona for us. Just want to make sure those neck muscles are nice and powerful for this jaw here. And Paul, if you're watching, where's the meatloaf? That's what I'm asking. We can also do some really interesting stuff here with subtools, because we're still pretty early on in a development. This is kind of how I go out and create my variants. So we can go in here and we can add another sphere here. Oh, forgot to turn on symmetry. And that way I could do all kinds of different, like, you know, if I wanted to do different kind of attachments or styles. Maybe it's a horn. I can explore these ideas very, very quickly within ZBrush. You know? Maybe that's too big. Maybe I shrink it down. Right? You can do a lot of stuff real quickly. I can also then, you know... Oop, nope. Nope. Duplicate this. And let's go ahead and mirror this over. I'm just going to play with some shapes and see what I come up with. All right, we're getting some interesting shapes there. And I'm going to go ahead and inflate this just a little bit because I'm getting a little bit of roughness there. There we go. And now I can go back and sculpt on that if I wish. That was just more for an example shape. So let's go ahead and go back like this and turn that off for now. Maybe we'll put his nose up here. Let's go back to these eyelids here, kind of build out. Build out a shape here. I'll need to make sure I turn on my back face masking so I don't sculpt on the opposite side of the surface. We'll leave it to the chat, see if they want to make them angry or happy. What do we want to do?
We got a few contenders for names going on.
Oh, do we? Okay.
Yes, we do. Marco was first suggested, and then this has gone on a bit of a bit of a journey. So, Glorbo, then Glorbo Putty, McPutty the Third.
McPutty the Third. I like it. I like it.
Plico then was suggested. Spider Lord's third cousin, twice removed. And Pickle Nick has come up with Sculpty McSculpt Face.
That one
inevitably
is full of imagination, is all I can say about that one.
Absolutely. It's unique, isn't it?
Yeah,
First time we've heard that.
First time I've heard it.
Another couple of votes for Glorbo.
I think Glorbo wins it, I think.
Well, there's more.
Oh, there's more?
Make that decision.
Oh.
Glorbo eats pickles for breakfast. To which they're saying he's going to need a mouth first.
Yes, that's true. We got to give him a good mouth for pickle eating, is what I'm gathering from the chat. So he's got a nice beak to chomp the pickle. I guess
he'll need strong teeth for that.
Yes.
And then Zaidi says, it reminds me of a Martian Manhunter. Love it.
Ooh, nice. Okay.
Yep. And there's also a question about the object manager. Where do all those duplicates live?
Where do they live?
Yeah. It's in the submenu tool.
In the submenu, yeah. They're all within here, and you can change like how many tools you want visible, so you can see them all at once, and you can kind of cycle through them. Usually, what I do at the end is merge a lot of the stuff together, and then once a design is chosen. Because then that's where we can kind of really get into the nitty-gritty and make sure that we can get a nice final production model. Yeah.
Got it. The consensus seems to be Glorbo is emerging a champion.
Glorbo it is.
Thus has been named Glorbo.
Lord Globo of the Pickle Dynasty.
So another couple of questions we've had in whilst you're doing this.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, how much of a plan do you have when you're sculpting? And how much is discovery as you're progressing and having ideas and creatively adapting?
As we're doing demos and stuff like that at any kind of an event like this, it's kind of hard to have, reference with multiple monitors and all your inspiration boards and like a pure ref board going on. So, I mean, right now this is kind of like all just out of my head, and I'm a big fan of making sure that you always have reference, because you're always looking at reference, you're always learning. You always got to build up that visual library, right? But I've been doing this for about 11 years now, so I got a decent weird brain going on, right? Full of just nonsense. So I can pull from that a little bit. But I think so. I have a little bit of ADHD, so that I think that helps too, because it makes me kind of hop around the idea and come up with new things and just test things out really quickly. Yep. And I know instantly if they're not working or not. And yeah, that's just kind of like how I kind of workflow goes. I can tend to get 3 or 4 of these busts done in a day and let a client choose, or I can get one really nice resolved clean bust. And then take it into a drawing program and paint on top and get out all my iterations very, very quickly. Because at this phase, we're still trying to figure out what Glorbo is, right? If he's friendly, is he friendly? Is he mean?
Let's ask the
You
chat.
know, this is what we're gonna have to figure out.
Or even, and we have live humans in the very room. Any votes for friendly?
Friendly,
Friendly?
Gorbo?
Anyone?
Only 2
Couple?
votes for friendly. Okay.
Who wants slightly sarcastic as a character trait?
Would that be like Fry from Futurama? Just
Yes,
you know,
absolutely.
take my money, kind of a. No, I'm just.
Any votes for not friendly and a bit hostile? Oh, with more votes for not friendly.
Oh, okay, all right, all right. Not friendly. It is. We're gonna change that little
the
frown upside down.
The audience likes their Glorbo to be a bit hostile.
You gotta get to know him. That's very yeah.
He's misunderstood.
He's constantly misunderstood. Genetics it's not his fault. He was.
As Zaidi on the chat is saying, is the anti-villain.
He's the anti-villain. Yes. He's the hero, the anti-hero that everyone thinks is the villain.
So there's an interesting comment you said about when you're working on something for a client and you've got your references and that sort of thing, because presumably the conversations are going with them. They know the sort of thing that they're after.
Sometimes. Most of the time, they really don't know what they're wanting. Yeah, they know a lot of times I'll be shown a lot of other creatures, right? And the goal is always to stray away from what's already been done. But most of the people that I've worked with before, you know, like they'll show me something that it has wings and it has, you know, this elaborate tail structure. It's just like, you just want a flying creature. Okay, let's show them flying options, right? You know, like it's like when someone is going shopping for a motorcycle, right? They know they want something on two wheels, not necessarily 4, so don't show them 4, right?
Yep.
Unless they let you, you know, sometimes we're very lucky and we get to do what a lot of people call is the blue sky period. And that's literally where they give us like a month just to do whatever we want. Right, and that's my favorite time, right? Because it's not like we get to mess around and not produce, but it's like we get to try out all of our ideas before the client steps in and goes, yay, nay, I don't like this and I don't like that. But it's a lot of fun. Do
you have to build in much time for like notes and corrections when you're estimating?
Always. Yeah, I mean it's. Usually, if I've told a client it's going to take 4 weeks, it's actually going to take us 2 weeks, but we've led 2 weeks for back and forth because that's just how it goes.
But you don't deliver it after 2 weeks.
Well, I mean, you know, sometimes you nail it on the head. You know, I did. He was ultimately cut from the film for New Mutants, but I did fan favorite Warlock.
Oh, really?
And you know, at the time, I believe they wanted Jim Carrey to kind of be the voice of Warlock and all. It was a really interesting take on how they wanted it to go. And when I was brought in, I literally did like maybe 2 sketches, and they were like, "You've nailed it." And I was like, "Crap," you know, like. But you know, it's fun. It's both a blessing and a curse when you nailed the design right off the bat, because it's fun and for me, it's always about what do I get to do next? What's the next thing I get to mess with? If I had to spend 2 months on a creature, the same creature, the same sculpt, I wouldn't be having fun.
We had another question about advice for people wanting to be getting into designing characters, and that kind of leaks into a further question about how well do you need to know the tool, because you're just jumping in between the different brushes to get the thing that you know that you will get when you're using that brush.
Right. Well, so a lot of this, you know, ZBrush has all kinds of features. There's massive amounts of things that you can do with all these tools. But when I'm trying to quickly break out something like a shape or get it out of my head or just kind of play with shapes, I'm not too concerned with jumping around to all the other tools, right? When I teach this for my students, I try to keep it within 5 to 10 brushes, because if we open up the brush panel, that's a lot to learn, right? And a lot of it's all very useful and it all has its uses, but you're not going to be using them every time you use it. That's like saying you're going to use every button in Photoshop or Cinema 4D whenever you open it. It's most likely not, but there's always people will always find their tools that they like. I like clay buildup. Some people like using the standard more often, but it's just all personal preference.
And I was also talking to another amazing ZBrush artist, Anna Carolina, and she was saying...
Oh, Anna.
Yep.
Yeah.
Hey, Anna. And she was saying that if you are trying to get into designing characters, Aliens is a good way to go because we don't have that connection. We're like a real human, and we can always see the differences. Would you? Is that good advice
agree.
for you?
Absolutely, absolutely. I mean, you got to base a little bit of the alien stuff on basic shapes that we recognize, but it's like an eye is an eye and a mouth is a mouth, right? Everything else in between, we understand what's a shoulder and what's not a shoulder. But whether that's covered in scales or there's 8 shoulders, it's kind of up to us as the creators, which is always the fun part.
So Glorbo is apparently, according to the chat, the conqueror with a heart of gold.
The conqueror with a heart of gold. I like it.
Somebody tried to take his pickles.
And until you take the pickles, then it's all it's open. All gloves or all bets are off, I think is the saying. I'm trying to figure it out as we're going.
So here's another question for you. When do we take your painting away from you? When do you know you're finished? Is it like we have in a few minutes' time? Is it a deadline? Is it deadline based? Is it project based? Creative decision?
It's usually deadline based. If I can get a lot of sculpting done in the process, it's just fun. I like staying in ZBrush, but there is. Once you get into the other processes and the other tools that are available in order to create a 2D image, whether it's using Photoshop to paint on top, or using a texture program to get what you need, or a rendering software to kind of block out the shape or the color, or the flesh, or the materials that you're using. Once you get that out of the way, it's more about the imagination, which is the fun part. Yeah.
And when you're working with a team, presumably, then if you're handing it off for somebody who's going to rig the character, or if you're making a prop for somebody for for real world filming, if you like, then do you have advice for how to do that and how to work with the team members? Do you do that currently with your?
Yes,
production?
we do. We have quite a few people over at Sanctum Studios, and we all work. We've been working remotely for the last few years, but we did have a physical location, and it's just kind of emulating that same kind of an art department vibe. Everybody's there to kind of make the project work, and sometimes you got to delegate. Sometimes people get to do one whole design on their own. It all depends on the time, and it's a very collaborative environment. But definitely some things that I'm seeing happen that maybe just a few years ago, your design would probably go through a lot more people, right? And then it becomes like the projects thing, right? But what I'm seeing a lot nowadays is like sometimes the stuff that I make and I design, like especially for like props and like for Discovery, I'll make it, they'll get the approval, and I'll just straight 3D print it out, and it goes straight to set. So it's that's always fun and amazing because it's literally. It's your work, and it's like it's always neat to see on screen. It's definitely fun.
Is that the same workflow that you used when you were designing the Predator's mask for the recent Prey movie?
Some of the I got to do a lot of the internal parts of the mask. Another guy on the team, Michael, he did the bone mask of the structure. So that's a good example of sometimes working in a team where maybe some person is either kind of finished on the design and they're going to hand it off to somebody else that does maybe hard surface a little bit better, or has that kind of a mindset. It's all about picking and choosing what artist is going to be best for said task, right? And Michael really nailed the look of the bone mask, right? The idea for that. When first time I saw it, I was like, totally taken aback. I thought it was really great. But then, doing all the hard surface stuff for the Predator was really fun. I got to do a lot a lot of the weapons and seeing that come on screen and actually do what they're supposed to do when you're sadistically planning on what this weapon does and describing it to the director. It's pretty fun.
But that's a different discipline almost.
Yeah.
Where you're working on soft body stuff at the
Yes.
moment, but then when you're making weapons, then that you have to be very specific
Yes.
for that.
Yes. Well, I mean, what's interesting about that is that you can use a lot of the hard surface tools that are in ZBrush. I do a lot of paint overs with that stuff as well to kind of get the final design, and then I usually hand it off to another hard surface artist to kind of clean up my work, so to speak, and make it nice and clean. And then, I mean, other than that, if it's not being used as a VFX tool, we don't do any topology. We just straight 3D print it out.
Wow.
Yeah.
And then presumably you're working with the paint team who are adding real life character to those
Yes.
those
And
models
weathering
as well.
it.
Weathering it. There we go.
If you're a fan of Star Wars, you love weathering, and I love that stuff. It's so fun.
It's the used future, isn't
Yeah,
it?
the used future.
Yeah.
I love it.
So we've probably got another couple of minutes before your deadline runs out.
Okay.
So
Well, what color would we want this guy to be?
Well, this is a good question for the people on the chat or anyone here who wants to shout out. What general color do we want to see our character in?
Nobody? All right, it's up to me then. Okay, it's up to me.
No, what was that, Georgia? Blue.
Blue?
Okay,
all
blue
right.
it is.
So I'm going to show a trick that I learned from Mike Thompson here. We're going to go ahead and... Normally I do a lot more detail work, but we're kind of crushed for time here. Let me go ahead and just divide him up really quickly, and we're going to start painting with our standard brush. We're going to choose this alpha here, choose a color spray, and we're just going to affect the surface that way. And let's go ahead and start here. And I know you guys are like, what is happening, right? This is the trick. We're going to go to here. I'm going to fill that. And we'll keep his horn the same color as well. All right. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to pull some predator tricks. Okay? They're not really my tricks. They're Mike Thompson's tricks. But anyways, so we're going to start blocking out anywhere where we would have some blood pooling. And have some around the eyes, kind of raised surfaces. Right, we're going to go real quick. Now we get some Martian Manhunter vibes for sure. He'd have to be green though, I think. So all this is going to be a little bit of this color, a little bit of that. And guys, I am going really fast, so please don't judge me. Normally I take my time.
You are the world champion speed
I know.
sculptor, so this is normal speed for you.
Yeah, we're going to try and see if we can get a full done concept in the hour. How much? I'm
about 90 seconds left.
90 seconds? Oh, great. All right, here we go. I'm not going to talk for a second. No, go ahead. I'm just kidding.
Brian saying on the chat, this is amazing to watch. He wants to see more. Well, Brian, if you log in tomorrow at 10 a.m., then Justin's going to be back with a further set of examples as well. So as a quick plug for our full program tomorrow morning.
Okay, and what color we want? We wanted blue?
We wanted blue, yeah.
Okay. And so now we got our color chosen. I'm going to go ahead and turn down my intensity here, and I'm going to start filling it. And what you're going to see is that now I have all the color variation.
Ooh, interesting.
with the blue. There we
That's
go.
clever.
That's a quick.
That's really nice.
Yeah. Now I can go in here and start color picking where I would like to add some more of that, right?
So when you're making something like this and it's going to real world weathering and painting, do they take the color cues that you've put onto the sculpt?
Sometimes. So the color cues is almost like it's another round of design, right? That could take weeks on its own just to figure out what exactly the color palette and the textures that we want to use. But generally, you know, I do what I can digitally. If it's going to be physically made, like into a latex mask or anything like that, it's really in the hands of the makeup artists that are doing it, and they're really they're insanely talented how they do all of that stuff anyways, you know. So yeah, it's always interesting to see how they do that kind of stuff. Yeah,
that's really interesting, because sometimes it'll come from the brief, but often it's going to be coming from your imagination and what would you recommending that works with the character as well.
Exactly.
Really cool. So the art director or client is fast approaching.
The art director hover, is that what you're saying?
That's
okay.
right. Or you've got another session tomorrow. So what we could do is you could carry on if there's further things you want to do to this guy, to Glorbo.
To Glorbo, yeah. And then we'll take a look and see what he looks like here. And there's Glorbo.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
All in under an hour for this. That's just so amazing. That's amazing.
Well, thank you.
Stuff,
I appreciate it.
So thank you everyone for joining us for this speed sculpt. Fantastic work.
Thank you guys. Thank you. Appreciate it.
And Justin, would you mind just going back over to the webpage so we know where to?
Sure, absolutely.
Where to find out more about you. I mean, these details are also on 3dmotion.com. But here you go. This is your ArtStation account.
Yes, and this is for my work and just myself. And if you want to see what we do at Sanctum Studios, here we go right here. And we are based out of Los Angeles, California, and we do all kinds of things for film, TV, and games.
Fantastic stuff. These are amazing. Thanks again, Justin.
Thanks for
you,
having
everyone, and thank you for attending today. And we look forward to seeing you back here for we got another full day's program tomorrow at Siggraph. All right. So see you then.